Salutations from Wizard Studios. We got an MMA news episode coming to you. Let's get right into it. Alright, first up, who should Demian Maia fight next? Cowboy Diego Sanchez or Nate Diaz? First off, Cowboy has been fighting at welterweight. No, he hasn't. So why would he go back there? Demian Maia is an interesting, prospect, but he's been down at lightweight. Now, I know he goes back and forth, but he's been all about, competing for the lightweight title. So why would he go back up and fight at welterweight? He's lost a few in a row now. He needs to get back on that winning track. I know that Demian Maia wants to go out, on a song, just a high note, that swan song. So, Cowboy Cerrone, that would be the best stylistic matchup for Demian Maia. But I do not like that for Cowboy. I know that he has very, very underrated jiu-jitsu, okay? But Demian Maia's is on a different level. So, right now, I think Cowboy is off the table. Now, I'm not saying that he won't take the fight. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I don't like that matchup. I don't like from both sides. Looking at Diego Sanchez, I think that is the matchup I like. He is perfect for a guy like Demian Maia. He'll engage him. He'll come in swinging. That'll leave, openings for Demian to exploit. But also, he has the capability to put Demian out. Diego Sanchez has knockout potential in those hands. So, I like this matchup. This is the kind of fight you want to see for the last fight of Demian Maia. Now, I don't know if the UFC will do this, considering all the things that have been going on with Diego Sanchez. But we'll see. Now, looking at Nate Diaz, this is interesting. All right? This will pull big numbers. This could headline, a fight night. This could headline a pay-per-view if you wanted it to. I mean, Demian Maia versus Nate Diaz, I'll buy that. So, when you look at this, you think, does the UFC grant Demian Maia Nate Diaz? And you have to think about it, does Nate Diaz take this fight? This is Demian Maia we're talking about. The stranglers of all stranglers. So, and Nate Diaz is a smart guy. Alright? He's not going to take a matchup where he is not favorable. So, when you look at this, can Nate Diaz use that jab? Can he keep Demian Maia at bay? Nate Diaz has brilliant jiu-jitsu, okay? But Demian Maia is on another level. That's just the way it is. And he's a lot bigger. A lot bigger. He fought Anderson Silva for the middleweight championship. So, can Nate Diaz use that jab effectively to keep Demian Maia at bay? That is a big question. And if he would actually use his leg kick, a good leg kick, that would be very effective. Could be very effective, I should say. But I really think that Demian, I don't think it would be as good a matchup as a lot of people think it would be. I think the best possible matchup would be the Diego Sanchez fight. But you have to think, does Diego, with everything that's going on with him and his trainer, the UFC looks at that, They're not going to put somebody who Dana White's not going to put somebody who he does not think is mentally stable inside of the octagon to fist fight, So when you look at Diego Sanchez and everything that he's doing right now, and I'm not saying that Diego is not mentally stable. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if Dana White thinks that he's not, a lot of people are thinking that Diego is doing this to get money. Like he has a stakes in this guy's company. I don't know. I'm not saying that either. I'm just telling you what a lot of people that I've talked to think. It's really just a crazy thing that's going on. I don't know what's going on. I just wish Diego all the best, and I would love to see this matchup: Diego Sanchez versus Demian Maia. That is the type of fight that you're just like, all right, just go ahead and get to the floor. Because Diego, everybody's like, can Mickey Gall control Diego on the floor? And you saw what happened. I mean, it was Diego Sanchez. It was the Diego Sanchez show. So, and the cardio and all that, I would really love to see this matchup. I think I see you, buddy. So, this is the type of matchup where you're just like, you see Diego and you just think, if he can get to his old ways, what can he do? And you see Demian Maia, and you're like, we know what he can do. So, and we saw Diego get to his old ways in the Mickey Gall fight. So, I don't know. This is the type of matchup I want to see. Diego Sanchez versus Demian Maia. So that's the Wizards' pick on that one. All right, next up. You've all seen the news on this. Dana White goes on SportsCenter and cancels the next 3 events. So, everybody's wondering what's going to happen. Are these events going to get made up? How long are we not going to have MMA for? What are we going to do? It's times like these where you think that you want MMA, you want fights to, give you an escape, right? Like, if I could just see a fight, it'll make me forget about what's going on in the world, right? Like, things like that. That's the way that I think about it, but it may not be the right way to think about it. I mean, this thing that's going on, it's it's airborne, and if you breathe, you can get it, right? So you got to think, like, what if one of these fighters gets out of there and just sees one of his, or her loved ones and gives it to one of them. You know, all of the fighters are like, I don't care, I'll fight, you know. I'm already doing something that's dangerous. It's not just about their health and safety. It's about everybody else's. So, I want to see these fights so bad. Like, I want to see them just as much as everybody else. And if they can find a safe way to put them on, I'm all about it. Let's do it. You know? So, we'll see. You know? As soon as we can find out, as soon as Dana White and the UFC find out a safe way to put them on, I'm all about it. But right now, there's just, there's no way. There's no way. And the travel aspect of it, going through the airport, around all of the people. So, it's just dangerous. It's very dangerous right now. We'll see. We will keep you posted. Next up, sources say that the fighters only cost the UFC less than $150 million. That'll be 16%, roughly, of the UFC's $900 million revenue last year. So, 16%. Now, the fighters costing the UFC 16%. And you don't really see too many fighters come out and say, hey, I'm not getting paid enough. You don't see enough fighters. And you see articles like this saying that they are only getting paid 16% of the revenue. I don't think that the fighters are going to get what they deserve until you see a fighters union. There's no way. Because they don't have the power. The UFC has all the power. And you see that time and time again. 16% is not fair. We all know it's not fair. The fighters know it's not fair. They don't say anything about it because they're scared. But if there was a union, it would solve all of this. Got to get a union. You have to get together and get a union. That's the only way you get this fixed. Joel Soles, is he a corrupt judge? Awarded Trevor Giles the fight against James Krause. Now, when you look into this, he and Trevor Giles have the same jiu-jitsu coach. So, what does this mean? It's a definite conflict of interest. It's a definite conflict of interest. If you have the same coach, the same jiu-jitsu instructor, you should not be judging that fight. I mean, that's how did the UFC overlook this and put this man in this position? I mean, it's I'm sure that James Krause is sitting at home going, wow, how did this one slip by? How did this one slip by, guys? So, because this is the guy that gave Trevor Giles the first round. If y'all remember that fight, that's crazy. MMA judging has a serious problem. And for the UFC to overlook this, or the athletic commission, whoever is in charge of putting those judges in that position, it's a definite sign of incompetence. Because James Krause, now, who took that fight on a day's notice, went to that card to coach one of his fighters, and then gets robbed because this is a conflict of interest. I would say that was a very close fight. But now you have what looks like a corrupt judge in there giving this fight to Trevor Giles, because he gave the first round to Trevor Giles. When you go back and you look at that first round, James Krause is controlling him the whole time. He's on his back, man. Come on. This has to be corrected. You know, when you go back and you look at things like this, every time that people appeal these things, it never gets fixed. This one needs to get fixed. Of course it won't, but it needs to get fixed. McGregor and Diaz mock Habib for his street fighting comments in the Tony Habib presser. Now, Habib responds by posting a video of Conor hitting the old man and saying, "Show this to your son and tell him this is the way you street fight." This is a great response from Habib. When people say that Habib doesn't have good wit about him and stuff like that, this dude is pretty witty. Habib Nurmagomedov is about as good of all-around champion as you get, I think. I mean, he's cold as ice, right? A great fighter. Probably the best lightweight of all time. I think he's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. He is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now. He dominates day in and day out. And he doesn't get enough credit for his wit. This is a perfect example of it. I mean, just brilliance. Brilliance. So, let's give Habib some credit. Great wit about him. SBG Ireland has closed its doors. Coach Kavanaugh wanted to lead by example, so decided to close for 2 weeks. So, let me just say this. Coach Kavanaugh is a great dude. And this is perfect, man. I mean, this is a time when you see American Top Team and all these other gyms are still, or a lot of them, they're still going on, allowing the pros to keep training. And I think that this is a good job by Coach Kavanaugh, letting everybody know it's not about the money. It's about health and safety for all. Because, again, I'll say this. If one of these guys gets it, it's not just about him. He can bring it back to his family. Then they can give it to someone else, and so on and so forth. So there. Sam Alvey doesn't see John Jones versus Dominic Reyes happening next. Whenever it does, John Jones' next fight happen. So, Sam Alvey trains with Dominic Reyes. And he thinks that John Jones is going to fight Jan Blachowicz next. He thinks that Jan John, is more or less inclined that all signs are pointing towards that. And I think that, I think that he's wrong. I don't know, he says that Dominic deserves it. That's his teammate. But Dana has said that that's the fight he wants to make. John wants Jan. Maybe that's what he's talking about, And I've seen a lot of people say that John is running from Dominic Reyes. That's not what's going on. I think that John is wanting to fight someone who he hasn't fought before. Give this guy an opportunity. And in the meantime, watch the fight with him and Dominic 1,000 times, just to make sure. That's what I think. And maybe Jan lands one of those Polish hammers and just spoils everything. But you never know. Maybe John goes in there and handles business, and we get, the fight that we all want. John Jones versus Dominic Reyes too. But you have to wait and see, because Dana is saying that he wants Dom versus John. It doesn't, it all comes down to what does Dana White and the men in the back want. Because the UFC brass, they have the final say. They have always had the final say. So, if they want Dominic Reyes, they can make John Jones fight Dominic. Or they can, do whatever they want. That's that. So, Eddie Hearn's been talking about getting into MMA. And this is funny. Because he said he's not going to get into it unless he knows for sure that he can outdo Dana White. And so, you think about this and you go, man, Eddie, are you ever going to get into MMA? Dana White's probably the best promoter in all of combat sports. So that means he's already the best promoter right now in everything. Boxing, kickboxing, MMA, everything. So, how are you going to come in here and outdo him? What is your plan? How are you going to be successful? He's already, stealing his tactics. We've seen that. That's funny. The whiteboard thing before each fight. Each card. Real good. It works. So, you just going to copy all of his moves? I don't know. Real interesting. So should we be prepared to see Eddie Hearn make the move to MMA? Right now, I don't think so. I don't see how he could be more successful than any of the big players. PFL, Bellator, UFC, none of those. I don't see it. So, moving forward. Should Kevin Lee move to welterweight? Chael Sonnen thinks so. So, when you go back and you look, Kevin Lee's struggled to make lightweight, but I can only recall him missing weight one time. So, should he move to welterweight? He had an appearance at welterweight. He did pretty good against RDA, but, you know, I think that Kevin Lee, he struggles in fights, you know, mentally sometimes. So 165 would be perfect for him. He's one of those guys that would like be the 165-pound champion immediately. If he could get that mental aspect down. I mean, dude, he has all of the attributes. And when he's on, man, he's tough to beat. I picked him to win. A lot of people did. Should he go to welterweight, though? I know he struggles to make lightweight. But, like, if he would, you know, buckle down, get a nutritionist, and, you know, lose a little bit of muscle. There's, like, if he wanted to do it, he could do it. If he wanted to, you know, bulk up and go to welterweight, I think he could be very competitive there too. But those guys, I mean, there's some big welterweights. He has a physicality about him at lightweight, you know? So do you want to see that aspect taken away a little bit at welterweight? You know, when he gets real aggressive and takes opponents down. I think that really is a big part of his game. And unless he totally changes his game, I think unless they make the 165-pound division, he should stay at lightweight. That's just my personal opinion. And Kevin Lee has, like I've said, the potential to be lightweight champion. We all know that. But he has to figure some things out. And, you know, some guys have to. You know, that's what makes good stories. You know? That's what makes good documentaries, good movies. So, we'll see if Kevin Lee can figure a few things out. That's what it comes down to. And if he can, hey, I'll buy the ticket and go see the movie. Jacare Souza is preparing for the Uriah Hall fight at UFC 250 out of his garage right now. So, Jacare Souza, we all know, is coming off a couple losses. And, you know, one of those losses, he went up a weight class. So he's trying to figure some things out right now. It's refreshing to see how dedicated this guy is. You know, like, we always knew he was a dedicated fighter, but there's a few things going on right now in the world. And this guy, his coach said they're training hard every single day because nobody told them not to. You know? Like, hey, that's a different kind of dedication. And, you know, to get into a octagon, you know, half naked, or pretty much, you know, in your boxers, and fist fight with another grown man, you know, you got to be a different type of dedicated. So, man, I really want Jacare to go in there and put on a... He always puts on good performances. The Jan fight was weird, okay? We all saw that. You know, Jan's my counterpuncher, and Jacare was, you know, trying to get the fight to the ground to exploit his jiu-jitsu skills. But Jan has great takedown defense. So I really want him to come out there and get a win because I want Jacare to keep fighting in the UFC. Like I say, I don't like to see fighters get shoved to like the PFL or to Bellator unless they want to go there. So let's see Jacare go in here and get a W. You know, I know he's fighting Uriah Hall, and I love Uriah Hall, but I want Jacare to get a W because I don't want to see him shoved out of the UFC. I don't know if they will, you know. Maybe the UFC keeps him, even if he gets another loss. But let's not, you know, take that chance. I don't know. It's a tough one, right? Like, I don't like rooting for fighters. I like to just go in there and watch the fight. But if they're, you know, a fighter that I do like, then they get on this, you know, losing streak and they have to get a win. Like, come on, man, hurt to get this win, right? So we hope Jacare does get this win because we do not want to see him forced out. Even if we do love Uriah Hall. Bobby Lashley wants to compete in bare knuckle boxing. You know, you got to remember Lashley went 15-2 in MMA. So Bobby Lashley, he's a tough one, man. He's doing his thing in the WWE. You know, and you think about it, he's got some heavy hands. All right? This guy can go in there and put on a show, so they're probably going to take him. He's got a huge name. It'll be an awesome, you know, event. This is a win-win for everybody. For the fans, for the promotion, for Lashley, for bare knuckle, in general, you know, the sport in general. So you think about this. Hey, everybody's in. So let's see if Lashley ends up doing it. I think he probably will. You know, once all this stuff settles down, we'll probably see Lashley fight in bare knuckle boxing. And that will be spectacular. This dude is known for putting on a show. So I can't wait to see what happens. This is going to be one of those things where you're like, what is going to happen? You know that's going to be a knockout, right? But who are they going to match him up against? That's the big thing. I mean, they could match him up against a nobody as Bobby Lashley, but I mean, hopefully they find, you know, somebody good, and we get a good show out of it. That's what I want. All right, this is the one. Khabib versus Tony to be relocated to Dubai. Even Dana White has said this is a possibility. Is this going to happen? Right now, I think if the fight happens at all, this is probably where it's going to take place. How many people are going to be on the card? I don't know. I've heard a few people say that it may just be Habib and Tony. You know, that's it. The one and done. But in the case of fights, you know, being duds, there has to be more than one. And you think, oh, this cannot be a dud. It's Habib and Tony, you know? There's no way. There's always a way. Francis and Lewis, come on. We all knew that. Look what it came out to be. So, you think about it. Is this going to happen in Dubai? Are they going to throw together a arena, you know, for Habib and Tony, you know, just put on a spectacular event with no one there? Maybe. Just maybe. But then you think about it. You have to fly. Then you have to worry about everybody else's safety. You got to think about all the aspects of it, you know? All angles. I just don't know if they'll be able to pull it off. And Dana White said, hey, I don't know. And then at the end of the interview, he said, but people have been questioning me my whole career. So that just, you know, it goes to show you where his head's at. He wants to put on this fight. Alright? It's fallen through so many times. We've all seen it. We all know. But is it going to, you know, is he going to be able to do it safely? That is the question. Is he going to be able to do it safely? We have to wait and see. Right now, there is no answer. They want to. All indications are pointing right now for this fight, just this one, as of right now, to take place April 18th in Dubai. If you had to ask me, there is going to be a few others, probably this one and 3 others. So you'll be looking at just like a little main card, you know? In a tent somewhere in Dubai, you know, just I don't know. But that's what I see happening. If it happens at all, luck is not on their side. But, you know, Dana White has what is around like a $9 billion business, and if he can do it, he'll try. But if there is no way for him to get the people there legally, then there's no way. I want the entertainment. I want this fight to happen. So let's hope it happens, because, you know, we all want to get our minds off of this, you know. I'll say that again. So if there is a way for them to do it safely, I will be watching. I'll be watching if it's on, period. So let's hope that they can do it safely. Remember, guys, Bang energy drinks, there in the link below. Also, All American Hemp CBD gummies, there in the link below. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe for more MMA content, and we will see you in the next video.